And, quick, right? So there's a lot to be celebrated about that, unless you work all the weekend. It's like probably a lot to do. I will officially call the meeting to order. And for our roll call, I would like to go around the table, for introductions. We'll do the table and then we'll go along the wall to catch our visitors and our staff. So Peter, if you'd like to begin.
I'm Peter.
Problem child.
Allison, from Roanoke City.
Yeah.
Bill North, Roanoke Valley.
They're against the wall.
In the corner. Oh, you do. I'm Chris Robertson here from the commission.
Go ahead, Robert.
Robert Wood, Town of Rocky Mountain.
Steve Sandy, Franklin County.
Frank Bush, Town of Vinton.
Debbie Loudermilk, Town of Clifton Forge.
Chuck on Road, Town of Clifton Forge.
Don Erdman, City of Roanoke.
Woody Lips, Fred County.
Terry McGuire, City of Roanoke.
Hunter Holiday, City of Salem.
Barbara Dirk, a citizen representative, City of Roanoke.
Anne Marie Green, City of Salem.
D. King, City of Salem. Linda Brotman, Botetourt County.
Brandon Nicely, Botetourt County. Billy Martin, beautiful Botetourt County.
Yes, you are.
The Osborne, beautiful Roanoke.
I guess we're all making the mark.
Virginia Marlin, the Regional Commission.
Jeremy Holt, the Regional Commission.
And of course, I'm Lori Smith representing Franklin County. So let's start and go around the wall if we could.
Hi, everybody. Gavin Luder, beautiful Virginia Tech.
Stephanie Davis, Virginia Tech, beautiful Wood County.
Freddie Sexton, Town of Benton.
Cynthia Morrow, Health Department, beautiful.
Bailey Medeiros, Director of the Collective Response here at the Regional Commission. Laura Taylor, Virginia Tech. Amanda McGee with the Regional Commission.
Curtis Jones, Regional Commission.
Tara Golden with the Regional Commission.
Anna Botter with the Regional Commission.
Amaya Matthews with the beautiful Regional Commission.
We started something, didn't we?
Allison Sinet with the Regional Commission.
Jessica Meharan with the Regional Commission.
Tia Regional Commission.
Andrea Gonzalez. Very good. Again, I'm gonna acknowledge our superior staff that we have here at the commission under Mr. Holmes' leadership, the extraordinary support that you guys provide the organization, to Mr. Holmes and to the commission. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did the introduction piece, but I definitely want to call out Linda Rotman, who has introduced herself as from Botetourt. And would you like to just say a few words, or I just wanted to introduce you to everybody as being a new commission member?
Oh, well, thank you. I'm a pretty newly elected supervisor for the Buchanan District. And I don't have any acronyms to add to that.
Well, we welcome you.
Thank you.
And bless her heart, she's on the TPO. So she's been here since 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And she's getting her baptism this afternoon. But welcome.
Thank you.
And we want to make sure, again, I extend our support to you in any way that would help you out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
I've got the water for baptism.
Okay, so we've got two requests for virtual attendance. We have Mr. James Griffith and Mr. Ken McFadden representing Alleghany County, who have requested remote participation for our commission meeting this afternoon under our policy for electronic meeting participation, allowing for remote participation for emergency personal or medical matters and having a physical quorum present. The request is due to travel time conflict with a meeting immediately following this one. They were going to be too pressed to be here and then have travel time to get to their next meeting. So we invite them virtually. Gentlemen, welcome. Can you hear us okay?
Sure can, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you virtually. Okay, and this was granted pretty much via unanimous consent of the commission unless you have an objection. Okay, very good. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is going to be the action requested items under the consent agenda. If you've read your packet, there are, I think, 5 things listed under your consent agenda. Are there any of those items that you would wish to pull for further discussion or question? And hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
Move the consent agenda.
Thank you, sir. Second.
Second.
Thank you. And we will do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Okay, very good. Thank you all for that. Under chair's remarks, I just have a couple quick things. I'm sure we've all been watching the General Assembly carefully, and some of us not very well pleased with what we're seeing. Excuse me, at this time, 2 major budget amendments that we here at RVARC are watching have failed to make it through the House and the Senate Money Committees this past weekend. Amendments would have increased every PDC space funding to $360,000 and additional funding for DEQ to support state mandated water supply planning. So let me just say, we appreciate so much the letters you all have written, calls made, and your advocacy to try to get these things done. We've got an uphill battle in this General Assembly session, to say the least. But I'm a strong proponent of making sure that we keep a good, steady, consistent voice for the things that are important to this commission and our organization. So, thank you all very much, and we will look forward to, under Mr. North's leadership of our legislative committee, to come up with potentially some interim steps on things that are just not adequately being heard. Many things not even getting out of committee, which is unfortunate. So just wanted to brief you on those things. Today, after our meeting, our work program committee is going to meet. And they are going to be looking at their first pass of the 2027 work program. The commissions received 34 project submissions for consideration, primarily in the community development space. The goal is to have a draft budget and work program to this commission body at the March meeting. And I again want to thank Lee so very much. And this committee, they are working very, very hard. And they're taking up a new model, you know, where we're starting to consider things outside of just work program submissions. That's trying to align with budget and strat plan and so forth. So Mr. Osborne, thank you so much for your leadership. We appreciate that. We look forward to hearing your report next month. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Just that, I want to thank everyone on that committee for their work. We're being asked to do a little bit more work than we've done in the past, which is nothing compared to what the staff does, but it will engage us a little bit more, and hopefully that will filter through and engage each of the localities as well. We did, and I'm not sure how this got communicated, but we did at our first meeting, which we held after the January meeting, decided we would open the door. There are several localities that are not represented on the work program committee, and we decided that we would open the door if there were any volunteers from those jurisdictions. I didn't see an email going out inviting anyone, but you're welcome to stay. And if you have a question as to whether your jurisdiction is represented, you can ask after the meeting. So I'm not going to slow things down here, but we want this to be as inclusive as possible, and you'll be playing a little catch up, but not too much.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. We very much appreciate your work, your committee's work. Okay, we will move on to executive director's remarks.
Thank you, Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Marks.
I have a few items to update you all on. So a few weeks ago, I had a chance to make my first ever visit to the Virginia General Assembly. I don't know how I've been in this job for almost 20 years. I've never been.
So why we don't have any money.
Well, yeah, I think that, I'm a little happy to not have to go back to the General Assembly. I did attend the General Assembly on the February 5th lobby. I saw several of you wandering the hall that afternoon, but I was in attendance with the Virginia Business Roundtable on Early Education group led by Eric Sitchow locally with the Regional Chamber, meeting with folks lobbying for adequate funding to support childcare, to support workforce needs across the state. Eric did a great job getting a disparate group of people on a whirlwind 2-hour tour of, I can't remember how many senators and delegates. But that's part of the work that's coming out of our strategic plan to make sure that the commission is involved in the statewide conversation, work on elevating the region's presence in Richmond. That same day, I was able to attend the Virginia Association of Planning Districts and Communities Planning District Commission meeting, their board meeting, executive directors, and we heard from new leadership in Virginia Housing and some folks with DHCD. You might recall several years ago, there was a program that gave every PDC in the state between $1 and $3 million to support affordable housing projects. That program became a competitive program in the last round. So we are advocating that it return. PDCs don't like competing with each other. We think we're all here to help our localities, and having us compete for funds doesn't feel real great. So we got that message to Virginia Housing. And they didn't promise anything, but we're hopeful that they heard that. And when they're looking at their housing design programs for next year, that we might see some good movement there. We also had a chance to meet Mark RVARC, I'm probably getting his name wrong. So under the Spanberger administration, he is the new Director of Local Government Engagement. That's a new office within the administration that's focused just on making sure there is a clearer communication path between local government and the governor's office. He is well known within the PDC space, so we are hopeful that that will help facilitate projects and funding and good conversations in the future. So it was good to get a chance for all of us to meet him. On a practical note, I do want to announce a change to the commission's operating hours. We have been, like a lot of places, working under a flexible telework schedule since COVID. And we found that's been really effective. Quality of life improvement. It has not affected performance or productivity. I think, as the chair mentioned, beginning our staff is great, but it's nice for some of them, particularly their commute, who get to stay home a couple of days a week. We have found that meant on Fridays, there's only about 4 of us in the office. And this is a big inefficient building for 4 people. So we're going to, under a trial basis, have the commission's operating office hours be Monday through Thursday with a telework day for all staff on Fridays. And we're going to reduce the energy consumption of the building. So that potentially will have a significant impact on our utilities. We'll free up more money and other important things. We'll be doing this on trial basis in March. That we're not concerned about projects. What we do want to make sure is communication still works. So to make sure that any of you can still reach any of us, or your staff can still reach any of us. Like I said, there's only 4 of us in on Fridays anyways, and it hasn't affected anything yet. I'm one of the 4, so this will be my first actual telework schedule. But we're gonna run this through March, see what happens. I would appreciate, if this does, you do or your staff runs into any communication challenges, please let me know. That's the main thing we want to make sure it doesn't fall with this new sort of. It's very rare these days that anyone comes knocking at the door anyways. It's not 10 years ago when that used to happen a lot more. So we think it'll be, it should be fun, but please provide any feedback. Last thing, we do have a couple of anniversaries. I do want to recognize Chris Robertson and Curtis Jones, who are both about their 1 year. I think Chris just had his 1 year. Curtis either is at or about to hit your 1 year. In January, was it? Okay. So Curtis and Chris are both at their 1 year with the commission. Sherry Goldman, who will be presenting for the very first time this afternoon to you all, is at her 6th month. So I just want to thank them for sticking around. We're very excited that they're here. It is, as Ms. Smith said, they are what makes this organization work, and they do all the work that helps your localities get things done and get grants moving or projects moving forward. So we're excited that they've all chosen to keep hanging on this long. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And once you pass your 1 year mark, we just kind of say, you can't go anywhere. So that's a very informal statement that your chair's making, but we want to see you hang around and share your expertise with us. So thank you all very much. Okay, next on our agenda, very exciting presentation by Virginia Tech School of Public and International Affairs. We have Gavin Luter, and then we have Stephanie Davis with us. And if you'll, I'd like to read, your bios very quickly, and you're welcome to get prepared. Gavin Luter, PhD, is a community engagement professional and previously served as a full-time managing director of the Educational Partnerships for Innovation and Communities Network, a coalition of colleges and universities dedicated to connecting higher education, human capital with the needs of local governments and communities. Professionally, he is the chair for the Place-Based Justice Network. He spent 7 years as managing director of the University, y'all were trying to.
That's right.
He messed up. Alliance at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where he connected with local governments, campus resources. He also previously served as executive director of Wisconsin Campus Compact, as education projects director at the United Way of Greater Knoxville, and as student civic engagement coordinator at the Howard H. Baker Jr. Center for Public Policy at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Gavin received his PhD from the University at Buffalo in Educational Administration, his MS from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, in Higher Education Administration, and his BA in Public and Urban Affairs from Virginia Tech. Welcome, Gavin.
Thank you.
And second of all, we have Stephanie Davis, PhD, with us. And she is a collegiate associate professor at Virginia Tech and the program director for 3 graduate certificates, including the graduate certificate in local government management. She teaches undergraduate and graduate courses in public budgeting, local government, financial management, and local government management. Prior to her position with Virginia Tech, Dr. Davis served in Virginia local government for 20 years as a finance, human resources, and IT director, budget and management analyst, and as vice president consultant for a national consulting firm. She served from 2018 to 2023 on the Commission on Local Government for the Commonwealth of Virginia. She also served as a 2021 International City County Management Association, that's through ICMA, known to most of us, local government research fellow, and developed a manager's manual on strategic planning in small communities. Dr. Davis holds a PhD in public policy and administration, a master's of public administration, and a bachelor of science in economics. And she says, go Hokies. Okay. So, we are so honored to have you with us. Your bios are extremely impressive. And we're so grateful that we get to benefit from your experience and your tenure. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Is this,
Yeah, that's a.
it works? Oh, okay, yeah, great. You said thank you to us for being here, but I just want to say thank you all for being here. It's amazing to me that, in higher education, sometimes we think that we've cornered the market on, all knowledge that's worth knowing, we document it. But what I love about working with local governments is there's so much knowledge and expertise in the room here that we don't have written down in books, and our students need that kind of stuff. So this is one of the reasons that really motivates me to get involved in bridging the gap between local governments and universities. So I'm here with my colleague Stephanie Davis, really standing on her shoulders. Stephanie knows many of you because she's been so active in the local government space for so many years in Virginia. So if I do anything wrong, she's going to kick me. Not even under the table. She's probably just kicking me butt. So, all right. So just want to give you a quick overview of the presentation. We're going to talk about the School of Public and International Affairs, talk about our academic programs, and then talk about outreach and engagement, and maybe some opportunities for us to maybe work together in the future. First, I feel like it's important to kind of zoom out and say, RVARC seems to be really motivated by these 3 things. Obviously, they're on your website: empowerment, collaboration, innovation. To me, I see a direct connection between that and everything that Virginia Tech stands for. You all probably know that Virginia Tech is a land grant institution. Sometimes we say that, we don't exactly know what that means. Basically, federal government gave us land so that we could help the state grow economically, and also help our education base so that we could continue to be a thriving state. That is why we exist. So we have these kind of values of excellence, but PROSM, you probably know that I may serve, collaboration, ethics, collegiality, and then continuous improvement. I think those are completely aligned values. We are all working to make the public sector better. And we just want to make our society as best as possible for all people who live within this great state and our country. Virginia Tech also I didn't mention this, but I'm actually based in Arlington and Stephanie's based in Blacksburg. Because we do have a presence in both Arlington and Southwest Virginia. Of course, Blacksburg is our main home. And part of that is because we think that our land grant mission also extends to also serving the nation's capital, since we're right across the river from it. So, but yeah, we really care about Virginia, and we say go Virginia, not just go Virginia Tech, but go Virginia. The School of Public and International Affairs is kind of broken into three parts. Think of them, we call them programs. One is urban environmental policy and planning. And we have undergraduate majors, so we're kind of a third undergraduate, 2/3 graduate. And our undergraduate majors are smart and sustainable cities, soon to be called urban planning, because more people know what that means. And then environmental policy and planning. And then we also have a master's of urban and regional planning in that program. Another program is the Center for Public Administration and Policy. This is where our MPA, or Masters of Public Administration, sits. As well as our PhD in Public Policy and Administration and the graduate certificate that we're going to talk a lot more about. And then finally, we also have this government international affairs part of our identity. We have a Master's of Public and International Affairs. So you might do your undergraduate in international studies on political science, and you do your master's in the School of Public and International Affairs. If I ever say SPIA, it's the School of Public and International Affairs. And then a PhD in planning, planning, governance, and globalization. So, as I said, we have 2 locations. I've already kind of teased that. Don't need to spend a lot more time, but actually we have 3 because we're also virtual. A lot of our programming happens and can happen virtually. So if you're in Blacksburg and there's a class being taught in Arlington, you can take that in Blacksburg. A lot of our certificate students are actually virtual. They might not ever step foot on our campus, and that is perfectly fine with us. Again, we serve the entire state. It doesn't matter where you are, we will serve you. So I think I'm gonna turn it over to Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you all. So, in a few minutes, I'll ask those folks who have the graduate certificate to raise your hand, because there's a few in here. This graduate certificate in local government management, it was a partnership between the Virginia Local Government Management Association and Virginia Tech. It was created in 2008. We graduated our first cohort in 2010. So we've been in business for a while. Our target audience are employees of local government, and particularly in Virginia local government, but we are also starting to branch out a little bit. And all of our courses are master's level, 12 credit hours or 4 classes, and all of our courses are delivered synchronously. I say that because when our students attend class, they attend class once a week, and I'll talk to you about the program. They are joining up with folks where I live in Southwest Virginia, the real Southwest Virginia. They're joining folks who are in Northern Virginia, Central Virginia, throughout the entire state. So that is why we do our Zoom synchronous delivery. Of the 4 courses, we actually offer 5 courses. So we have local government, the professional manager. This is how do administrative staff in our communities work with our elected officials, with the community, with nonprofits, that sort of thing. I actually teach the HR, finance, and performance measurement class. I take students all the way from what a strategic plan is, all the way to how to read an audit. And yes, they can come out and actually read an audit. Intergovernmental relations and local government delivery systems. What this really is how do we work with the state, the federal government, and then how do we deliver services? What does it mean to be a deliverable state? Those kind of governance questions. We have 2 kind of substitute classes, economic development and local planning. How do we think about economic development from the manager's perspective? What do we mean by quality of life? And we do a lot of case studies in that particular class. And then the planning administration course, it's a shared course with our colleagues over in our MERP program, Masters of Urban and Regional Planning. This is for folks who really want to move up that planner track to a planning director, deputy county administrator for community development. We have that class as well, so students can take either one. Our goal in this program is to prepare the next generation of local government managers and leaders. Some of the benefits, and I'll kind of run through these quickly. So the very unique thing about our program is I am actually the only PhD that teaches in the program, and I don't really count. And you'll all see in just a few minutes. I spent 20 years in Virginia local government, in the Central Virginia region in Powhatan County, Chesterfield County. And for those of you with constitutional officers, I actually started my first job at the State Compensation Board in Richmond. So that was an experience, great experience. But all of our instructors are practitioners, so they are either current or former city, county, town managers or deputy city, county, town managers. Networking opportunities, we've really built for our students a way to help them in the professional development area. So we have a Virginia Tech ICMA student chapter. We are an affiliate member with the Virginia Municipal League. We'll be joining the Virginia Association of Counties in June as an affiliate member. We attend the VLGMA Winter Conference, and really this is the first step in pursuit of a master's degree. Many of my students that come into the program are probably on average, 7 to 10 years out of undergrad. They have families, they're working full time, and they are not ready to commit to that MPA program. So they will do this certificate as a way to get back in the classroom, get used to going to class when you've got children and family and seniors and all that sort of thing. And then they'll continue on in the MPA program. Other SPIA certificates, and I'll just briefly talk about these. So I also manage the public and nonprofit financial management. This is a pretty unique program for folks in the financial world, and we look at federal, state, local, and nonprofits in that certificate. Economic development. So we are really, really excited about this certificate. This is housed in our work grant program with a faculty member in Northern Virginia, but we right now are revamping that program focused on local government, economic development. We're really excited. We'll be rolling that out for the fall semester and making sure we're promoting that throughout the state. Transportation planning, how do we think about transportation in urban environments or really any environment? And then nonprofit and NGO management. I have a separate certificate for folks who want to go into the nonprofit realm of things. And again, all those certificate courses count towards a master's degree at Virginia Tech. Happy to talk more about that, but that's a pretty good overview about what we do in terms of academic program. For the certificate, our Master of Public Administration is 39 credit hours or 13 classes. And I tell my certificate students, you are almost a third of the way there. Get that certificate and just finish the other 9 classes. You can do it. It's a balance of public management, public policy, and ethical foundations of public service. That's the Virginia Tech flavor, is that ethical piece. Our target audience, again, full-time and part-time students, and we added right at about 2020, and you can all figure out why we added that virtual component. So students can also take this virtually throughout the state of Virginia. It's excellent for working professionals. I'm going to start the slide on outreach and engagement. Again, we're here so we can answer any questions. As you know, the local government is a very small world, and Virginia Tech and my interest in local government really is about helping, especially our small communities, but all communities. So I had to laugh when Gavin and I were working on the slide. So if anyone was in Alleghany, City of Roanoke, Roanoke County, City of Salem, or Botetourt in 2018, raise your hand. A few. So you all helped me finish my PhD. My dissertation was actually on regional collaboration. I met with each manager of those communities and then 2 Board of Supervisors members. I'm seeing a couple nods. So, and so that was published, and that was just a great experience to work with you all, and I got to learn a lot about the area. We just finished a Town of Clifton Forge pay study update. And let me just kind of frame this. When we talk about these technical assistance projects, what's happening is you are employing a Virginia Tech student. They are learning real world skills. I'm managing that person. I'm the face of the project, but they are talking to other localities. They're keying data. They're learning about positions, or if we're doing something financial related or benchmarking. These particular projects are just great ways. In 2021, I was conducted the, fellowship project with ICMA. The town of Benton was wonderful. They were a strategic planning and small communities case study participant, and they are in that manual, and that's great. We also did a case study update for the town of Benton a few years ago. So key officials in the area hold the local government certificate. Who has it in the room? Yep. Yes, very nice. Thank you. And many of your employees in your representative communities have the graduate certificate in local government management. Some of your officials in your area have participated in the Virginia Women's Municipal Leadership Institute. Do you all know? I know we had some folks from Franklin and some other localities. That has been a great program to build that pipeline of women to the manager levels. And then we also have the Finance Network. Does anyone know if you all participate in the Finance Network? So April of 2020, Town of Abingdon asked me, March of 2020, Town of Abingdon said, will you come and help us get through the budget? Our finance director just quit or whatever, resigned. I said, sure. And so what happened 2 weeks later, COVID hit, and I went, I had been out of this for a while. So we started a Zoom meeting every week with localities in Virginia to talk about the COVID impacts on local government finances. That was 6 years ago. We're getting ready to hit our 6th anniversary. That Finance Network still continues to meet every 2 weeks, and it just runs the gamut of financial issues in local government. So we're pretty proud of that connection as well. And with that, I'm going to stop talking and hand this over to my colleague, and then we are available for questions.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Stephanie. Also just want to talk about potential partnership opportunities for us to maybe work together. Training opportunities, obviously, we are kind of in the business, I hate to say it, like we exist to be able to help train people and to generate new scholarship. So training opportunities are kind of a natural first place to start, because everything that you've heard Stephanie talk about, the NPA program, the local government certificate, to one-off trainings. We're actually working on a Virginia Beach EMS training right now called From Buddy to Boss. Because like sometimes when you go from EMS, rank and file to now I'm a chief, these people were my buddies last week, and now I actually have to supervise them. How do I do that? That's kind of difficult. So training opportunities are a really good place to start. So we obviously have a lot of existing trainings, and we are eager to figure out and listen. Are there opportunities that you all think that we could be listening to and saying, hey, let's build some expertise, maybe even have people on staff who might be able to contribute to the learning of the new people. Technical assistance, as Stephanie has just talked about, done some pay study stuff, HR stuff, local government finance. These are things that are really in Stephanie's wheelhouse, as well as our faculty. So, kind of small scale studies. This might be something that it's not really like you don't have $50,000 sitting around that you can just, afford a big consultant, but it's like, hey, we have a little bit of money and we'd really like you to help us understand how we can move forward or have a more, educated discussion at the board level or the town board level or city council, whatever it is. That's where we could be helpful. And also experiential learning opportunities. I did want to kind of highlight that we're doing a project with Botetourt County right now. And Gary LaRue and I met, and he just kind of said like, hey, a lot of people are talking about school finance and construction costs and all this kind of stuff, but like also AI is happening a lot. How is AI in our changing space? How is that going to affect the future of school construction? Maybe not now, but maybe in 5-10 years. So we have a group of studio students. It's an interdisciplinary studio happening on the honors program, where they're just going to look at like, what are all the different options and ways that school buildings might look different, who's doing things differently. So it's kind of like a low barrier to entry, getting a group of students to do something for no cost, but they might be able to throw some spaghetti on the wall and just help you think about some things that you might not really be ready for a full attached project. So there might be some experiential learning opportunities. Also, some of our students have like great professional experiences. So if you're giving experiential learning opportunities to some of these students, they may be your next employee. So you get a chance to kind of work with them before they come out of their public administration program. We're also always kind of kicking around different ideas. We even talked about an idea that hasn't moved forward yet, but maybe fellowships for people like that are trying to work at hard to staff areas. And they could do an MPA and do a fellowship, but also be working for a local government part or maybe full-time. These are things that like we're open to kicking around these different ideas. And that's one of the reasons why I came to Jeremy to say, there are any ways that we might be able to think big together, help you with some technical assistance or other kind of training opportunities. So that's really what we're here to talk about. And if nothing else, now at least you know what SPIA does and how we've helped your local governments. And we'd love to continue to be in partnership with you all and just know that you can always count on us. So with that, we'll take some questions.
Kevin and Stephanie, thank you so much. That is a wonderful presentation, very engaging.
Thank you.
So I will open up the floor to commissioners for any discussion questions that you may have. There will be a cookie for the person that speaks first.
My class out until at least one person asks. Yes, sir.
Thanks for the presentation. I wasn't clear on what was going to be presented today, but I think that's a good product that you have there. I believe in the internship program because of my prior life when I once worked full-time. Well, let me put it this way, when I once worked for a full-time salary.
Yeah.
We used to use Virginia Tech interns in Norfolk Southern in marketing. And, you know, they shared their new technology and ways to do things with us, and we shared the reality of the corporate world with them, but many of them came back to work for us. That kept them 5 years, they're still working for us. That's the challenge. But they were a great resource. I think we've had talks in Roanoke County about using some Virginia Tech students too. And that's still a discussion. I think that's a good move for anybody in this room. You want to give someone an opportunity to learn about local government and might come back and work for you one day and make a career out of it. As far as the courses are concerned, us elected officials, if you belong to VACO or VML, they have programs. And I've taken three college level courses and I'm a certified supervisor. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not, but it was an excellent program. We have about 25 every year. Lori's taking the program too. I'm not sure who else, but anyway, we have about 25 people every year from all over the state that, and some of it's virtual, but usually the first and last of the 3 modules are in person. Then we go through the budgeting process and share land development stories as well as leadership. So kudos to these programs. And I'm glad the guy next to me took that program. I think that's what gave him the anointed title of county administrator, was the program.
He's not sure he wants congratulations or sympathies. His first 20 days.
He's aged a little bit, 20 days.
I was gonna say, I think I was either in the first or second cohort.
With Bob Stripling.
The graduate certificate.
Yeah.
I didn't realize until today I did it backwards. I got my master's first, so I didn't get any credit.
Oh,
Yeah. For those, but
That's
good
what
that you
you're
get
ready
credit.
for
yeah, I guess,
ready for the
yeah,
PhD.
I'm too far past that.
Anyway, I think we've got a couple of people like Madeline Hanlon. I think she took some of those courses. She was a Roanoke College graduate, but, and I also think Kaylin, who works with us, Spickler has taken some of those.
That's right.
Yeah, their name, Granville,
Yeah,
Lindsay
yeah.
Webb might-
Lindsay. We've had a number of people to take the courses, but we need to get some interns in there for the summer.
We are happy to do that. So I am always looking for local governments to host interns for our students, even if they aren't, and specifically MPA students, but any of our SPIA students. And these kids, and I say kids, they are smart.
Yeah, that's.
And they will work hard for you. So I guess it goes both ways. If you're ever thinking you all need internships, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, because I actually manage internships at our center. And we're also with our undergraduate students, they need experience as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I think our contact information may be on the next slide. For your managers, just one more thing, for your managers, an email went out through VLGMA's listserv earlier this week, and I'm asking for folks to allow students to come shadow you for a day. So that is out there as well, and I apologize.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same vein, was wondering how, we have plenty of positions open at the city of Roanoke. How can we get some of these, create the pipeline to Virginia Tech and
you know, I know internships are a great way of doing that, but are there other ways of, you know, trying to recruit folks out of Virginia Tech?
Absolutely.
That are graduates?
Absolutely. So I'll say a couple things. We have a program called Handshake. And I can get you all hooked up with this, and you can actually go and post your positions on Handshake, and that's for Virginia Tech students, and then they can apply and that sort of thing. Our college is hosting a local government career day, and that was also in the manager's email this week. If you all want to participate in local government career day, and I think it's virtual, it's an easy lift for our students in our entire college. That is in there. Reach out to me and I'll forward you that email. You know, anything we can do to help students, you all know this, the feds aren't hiring, the state is tight as a result of that, and I am telling folks, come to local government. And if we've got that dialogue going on and those opportunities for students, that just makes the whole thing better. Tech, you guys, local government, the whole 9 yards. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Internships, Hokie Shadow Day, local government career day, all of those different things.
There is also a career services office, we call it career professional development, but there is somebody who oversees just public service interested careers. So we can also kind of socialize you a little bit with those people to get, you know, one-on-one relationship, because they do have like separate career fairs, like big career fairs, people come and recruit. So, you know, beyond just the things that we do at SPIA, we could also get you connected, because you might be looking for a skill set that is beyond what a SPIA student has. You need somebody with an industrial engineering background, something like that. So, but yeah,
Like right now, we have 10 spots in our planning department open.
Yeah.
So we're definitely.
Yeah, and, you know, kind of piggyback, there are, what, 10, I don't even know how many employees at Virginia Tech, and it is really hard to figure out who do I call, so you kind of see my face, I can get you connected, wherever you need to go, so just reach out, please, that's my job.
I think there was a question over here early on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious as to whether you all have a presence of any sort here in Roanoke. And maybe I missed it and you talked about it. I'm thinking a little bit like the brilliant Virginia Tech School of Medicine. Do you have any connection through that, or is that, I mean, I know functionally it's not related. I'm just curious as to.
That's a great question. So the Virginia Tech has 6 different centers throughout the state of Virginia. One in Abingdon, one here in Roanoke, 7th floor, the Higher Ed Center, Richmond, Newport News. Could be on 4, I can't remember the other ones.
Alexander.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So we work very closely with the Higher Ed Center right down the street. Scott Reimer is the executive director, and we put on programs through there. In fact, the Virginia Women's Municipal Leadership Group Institute is run out of there. There are not any faculty in my department that sit in Roanoke. We used to have a presence and an MPA presence at the Higher Ed Center, but that's been a few years ago. But I'll drive you.
Mayor, did you have something?
Well, just briefly, I would highly recommend your organization. I do recall the pay study you folks did for the town of Benton.
Yeah.
It worked out really well. A lot of great information for town council. Worked out great for the staff. Everyone got a raise, so.
I'll second that. Our employees are happier right now.
And we are engaged with Craig County. We'll start that project in about a month.
I was gonna ask you that question because of county administrator, and I discussed that just recently.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember who he said at Virginia Tech.
That would be me.
Welcome, we desperately need your help.
I'm very excited.
And you're welcome to come to Craig County and
I
pretty
am.
much do just anything you want. I'm sure we need help on it.
So I'm planning a meeting out there after, the 16th, and I've reached out to Mr. Collins.
We have a committee that's already been engaged in
Yep.
this. And it might be good if you were to talk to either myself or one of the other committee members. We've interviewed employees, we did an employee survey. We made recommendations to the county administrator. And apparently he feels like we need further research, so we welcome you to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm also working with, and it, you know, it's an authority, the Western Virginia Water Authority. So we'll be wrapping up a project with them, by the end of April. So
Okay, does anybody else have
Yeah, sorry,
questions?
keep going. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
Barbara?
I think it's important for us to work together regionally for the whole area. And in 1995, the new Citrus Council plan, the regional plan for the area, and I've served from 1995 to 2015. Would you all be able to coordinate another regional plan for this area?
I'm happy to engage with some of our other faculty members and see, absolutely, at least have the conversation. That would be great.
I mean, I think that's kind of the pitch, the plea, you know, the thing to you all is like, whatever your priorities are as a region. If there's a way that we can help support that, we love to work with these individual places, of course. But that was me coming to Jeremy to say, are there these training opportunities, technical assistance opportunities, or other things that we dream of together? Like that fellowship that I talked about, like hard to staff areas. I don't know. I mean, it all kind of depends on what your priorities are. So if that's something you want to talk about, we are happy to do it. We have a load of people. And the other thing that I just want to say, we talked about interns. Like I said, if you might need a communications intern, but we don't have communications in SPIA, although our students know how to communicate. We can get you to the right place. We don't want you to feel like you have to knock on every door at Virginia Tech to get to the right person. So that's one thing that I would really like to be viewed as, is like a main entry point to Virginia Tech for local governments. So if it's us, great, we want to help you. If it's not us, great, we'll get you to somebody else and we'll help their students understand why they should care about local government too. So it's not just the public service minded students, but it could be a business student, you know, anybody.
Well, this has been just great. Just from the support staff, for the localities and for the commission. Certainly, everybody in this room will agree that our students and our young people are our future. And, we want to make sure we're engaging them at each and every level. That we can get them, to be good, productive members of our localities. So I applaud, I know this commission applauds the work y'all doing, and you probably got some more product as a result of this that's coming your way. So you almost better be careful with Jazz. But thank you all so very much.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, very good, wonderful. The next item on our agenda, Jeremy, the blueprint for action adoption, would you like to take this?
Yes, I'll ask in just a minute, Bailey and Laura to kind of come up and work through it. I do want to take a moment just to recognize Dr. Cynthia Morrow. She is here representing the Collectives Advisory Committee. So you hear some of their updates from Bailey every month. But she's vice chair of that committee and is here hoping to emphasize the importance of this document. I won't say anything else just in case it's in the slide that I anticipated, but if there's any gaps in that, then we'll come back and fill it. Welcome, Dr. Morrow. The CAC recommended this plan. So this is for you today to adopt as a regional plan to the response to the opioid crisis. But this is the first time something like this has come from this body, and we appreciate Laura and Virginia Tech's help on this. And with that, I'll stop talking.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Welcome, we're so glad you're with us.
Thank you. As I do get started, I would ask if you will take one of these graphics and pass it around. This is just gonna be a quick overview of kind of what I'm gonna go over today. But before we get started, I'm Laura Taylor. I am a public health program and policy research manager at the Virginia Tech Institute for Policy and Governance. I know that is a mouthful, and that is why it's not on the slide. It's gonna
Can you
take a
speak
few minutes.
into the microphone maybe a little bit more? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, where's that way? There, okay. So again, I just want to go over today, the 2026 Blueprint for Action update. Really want to review where we started, what we've done, and then some of the next steps. So really, where we started was conducting a full review, scope expansion, and update of the Blueprint for Action in 2020. I'll give you a little bit of background on that in just a second. But then also what we've done, doing some strategic direction for the collective response so that the organization itself is in its best position to meet the goals of that updated blueprint. So as far as background, the original blueprint for action, which was adopted in 2020, was developed through mainly a volunteer-led 18-month process. It involved a lot of representatives from sectors like healthcare providers, public safety, nonprofit leaders, some local officials, and many community stakeholders, all to really establish a unified framework or a roadmap that could be shared, that's grounded in the collective impact model. Again, all to coordinate efforts around the opioid and addiction crisis. So since 2020, things have changed. My previous presenters mentioned a lot of things about what happened in 2020, and I think we're all aware, but how does that relate to what the collective responses goals were? Well, of course, there was an increased presence of fentanyl in the drug supply, so really just changing the national and regional context of addiction, that shift. And along with several other changing uses and changing patterns of substance use. But there's also been quite an expansion of the recovery ecosystem. And we have more and more providers in those spaces and services in those spaces. And so really there needed to be more coordination among not only local but regional collaboration and across those sectors. So jumping forward, part of that evaluation that we did was recognizing the successes and growths there have been within the collective response. And of course, there have been many of them, but a few that are represented here is just continued commitment. We see stakeholders showing up, 45 plus members of the collective response showing up every month at their meetings, sitting in the room together, discussing, talking, and coming up with ways to serve individuals better. And I believe that's out of almost over 300 individual stakeholders that belong to that collective group. Within that, we've sustained and expanded work groups that represent over 10 sectors within that recovery ecosystem. Within these last 6 years, there's been an integration of the collective response under the regional commission, serving as the backbone agency. And that just gives the collective response the structure really to develop a more strategic framework to better work towards the mission. Let's see. There has also been development and continued growth of the peer recovery network, with now individual membership of over 250 peers. So I think that deserves, recognition in itself. And then one major project that was updated in 2024 was the asset mapping, which is now in the process of being launched as an interactive GIS mapping feature that will live on the collective response website. So really, what were the goals of this project? Well, again, we wanted to get an updated review and really understand the current state of the addiction crisis in the entire regional commission service area. We wanted to assess the impact of that original 2020 blueprint for action, really looking at evaluating specific and measurable outcomes of the work to date of the collective response. Wanted to look at and assess the current work group structure and any recommendations for changes there, and then strategically plan and set priorities to guide the activities of the collective response for the next 3 to 5 years. Again, all of this to align and further the mission of the collective response. So how did we do that? Over a 12-month process, we held 6 in-person and/or virtual activities. And these are broken down here. The first thing we did was breakout group discussions with the collective response in their April stakeholder meeting. We did this really to understand, again, that first step of the current state of the opioid addiction crisis. Second activity we held was the dot voting session in June, again, at a stakeholder meeting. And this was really to get the input from the collective response stakeholders on their perception of progress that had been made on each priority that was developed in 2020. The third thing we did was, of course, to try to reach anyone who is not available to attend a stakeholder meeting, was we had a survey out for 6 weeks, open in the summer, June and July, again, to gather feedback, not only on those priorities but really on the development, function, and overall evolution of the collective response. From there, moving to the right side, we took all of that information and developed some draft priorities for this update and went through a 3-tiered review process. So first, we presented all of those priorities back to the stakeholders, starting at the ground level, the local level, with service providers, and got their feedback on what they thought about all of the proposed priorities. We then took all of that information and represented them to what we called the ad hoc committee. It was a select group of stakeholders who have been involved in the collective response for a very long time, for service providers, direct boots on the ground, involved with surveying individuals. So we got their feedback and additional guidance as well. And then lastly, we took all of that information again back to the Collective Advisory Council for their feedback and input, really giving that final leadership level review and feedback and stamp of approval on what the most important priorities were moving forward. And through that process, we came up with 47 total recommendations for the 2026 Blueprint for Action update. 25 of those are captured within what we call work groups. And I'll show you those here in a second, but they are listed. And then 22 of those priorities were categorized by areas of development and evaluation. And that really follows the collective impact model that the collective response functions within. So here are those 9 total work groups. The 6 that we call the working groups, really the 6 like kind of topical work groups along the continuum of the recovery ecosystem. So prevention, education, and family support, crisis intervention and public safety, treatment, workforce and economic development, recovery services, and thriving. The other 3 groups you see listed here are more functional groups that are more of the responsibility of the collective response and their staff to really enable ongoing work and actually implementing these priorities. So I will very quickly go over each of these work groups, their goals, and just kind of an overview of their priorities. So first, for prevention, education, and family support, the purpose was really to identify, communicate, and educate the Roanoke Valley of available resources for individuals with substance use disorder, with a goal of decreasing mental health challenges that may lead to an increase in substance use, violence, or any kind of decline in quality of life. And some of the priorities, just as a general overview, are to increase safe access and supportive spaces for individuals and families, reducing stigma within the community, and improving awareness of support services to individuals with SUD. Crisis intervention and public safety. Purpose really is improving the rapid response to overdose, really by strengthening trauma-informed care, addressing health disparities, and strengthening a referral network to additional resources, with a goal to decrease the burden of overdose felt by not only persons who use drugs, but also their friends and families and first responders. Some of the priorities are really to provide data-driven, rapid response to overdose, increasing SUD support in local jails, and to increase support for peer recovery specialists and strengthen connections with law enforcement and EMS. Treatment purpose really is to focus on the services along a continuum of care of individuals with SUD, supporting transitions in care and cross-sector coordination, with the goal of rapid access to treatment at all levels and care to reduce disruptions in care, all to foster better outcomes for individuals.
What's SUD?
Substance use disorder. Some of the priorities involve integrating evidence-based practices into treatment services, increasing collaboration, and strengthen that continuum of care and reduce gaps and barriers to service. For workforce and economic development, this is really a purpose to develop regional workforce supports for individuals living with substance use disorder by engaging the business sector to become recovery ready and identify the workforce needs to support recovery in the workplace for individuals. And some of the priorities really are to engage that business sector, to educate employers on not only the supervision, but also emotional support, resiliency, and sustainability for those individuals in the workplace. Recovery services, the purpose of this work group is really integrating peer support services and care coordination across all aspects of recovery. That's anything from housing, transportation, or other social determinants of health. Really focusing on supporting individuals, families, and communities who are affected to improve health and wellness. And some priorities are, really discussing some of these things with the insurance sector to support recovery services, additional collaboration that's needed with other service agencies, but then also practical job training and readiness for those individuals. And then, of course, development of viable recovery housing. So lastly, for our 6 topical working groups thriving, this is a brand new one that came out of this process. The purpose of this work group is supporting individuals in their long-term recovery, including recreation, wellness, and self-development. The goal is really long-term support for these individuals in recovery by maintaining those social determinants of health that would be addressed through other work groups, as well as just creating and recognizing personal purpose, passion, and really that identity development. Some priorities really include transitional support to independent living, fostering opportunities for self-sufficiency, and sharing success stories really to reduce stigma. Of our 3 overarching, or what we like to call our cross-cutting membership work groups, really priorities for the work groups themselves. Really focus on supporting the work groups within the collective response to achieve not only restructuring and reconvening of the work groups, but tracking that progress moving forward. Really with a goal to activate the work groups in a meaningful and very purposeful way to advance progress. And some priorities include defining roles, identifying work group chairs, to determine meeting frequency and tracking, as well as engaging representatives from sectors who are not currently involved in collective response. Our second cross-cutting, our cross-membership work group, funding, policy, and advocacy, is really focused on identifying funding opportunities, policy and advocacy avenues, and engagement with government entities to support aspects of that recovery ecosystem, with a goal to support stakeholders and partner organizations or stakeholder organizations to acquire resources that are necessary for effective service delivery and advocacy. Some priorities include advocating to the state and elected officials to not only sustain but expand services, coordination for funding opportunities and proposal development, and engagement with government on relevant needs of the community. And lastly, data collection, measurement, and evaluation. This cross-membership work group is focused on really collecting data and measurement and evaluating the collective response alignment with that collective impact model. Goal really to benchmark and track progress of the collective response, not only its goals, the work groups, their priorities that result in an impact in the community within the recovery ecosystem. And top priorities for that work group are establishing a shared data system with routine data sharing, increasing the awareness of those goals and priorities, as well as pieces of that collective impact model for Element. So our immediate next steps, which one of them we're doing right now, right? We're presenting the Blueprint for Action update to stakeholders, community groups, and regional state officials, and any others that are identified that need to hear this great work that's going on in this plan moving forward. Another next step is really to develop a roadmap of care through the recovery ecosystem, assisted by information not only gathered through this process and the asset mapping, but also continued involvement with the work groups and the stakeholders that are part of the collective response. In March, and I believe Bailey will kind of give a little announcement about this as well, is really to convene the work groups themselves to start making progress towards these priorities. And it's not only just looking at the priorities themselves, but what are the actions that can immediately be taken to start moving forward. To do that, of course, need to identify work group chairs and or co-chairs to work in conjunction with staff to lead those work groups. And then also, and lastly, really to get to that data collection and measurement, really develop an evaluation plan with staff and leadership to outline sustainable and measurable action and tracking for the work groups in those priorities. All again, looking towards the mission of the collective response. So I know that was quick and a lot to throw out here all at once. So does anyone have any questions for me? Yes.
Yes, I do. Have we seen a reduction in opioid or fentanyl related overdoses or usage this past year in the area, or?
So you can do better for this.
And if we have, are people going to other types of drugs to substitute for the non-availability?
Yeah. I don't want to misrepresent on the last year, so.
So from an overall perspective, fatal overdose deaths have decreased steadily over the last couple of years. So far, preliminary data for the end of 2025 and beginning of 2026 continue that trend. So overall, the burden of substance use disorder is decreasing from overdose deaths, hospitalizations, and ED visits. It's still a huge problem. It was an honor for me to be here some time ago and talk about sort of health and the economy. And we know that substance use disorder has a profound impact on the economy of all of the localities that we serve.
I had a follow-up question to that. That was a good question, Mr. Holliday. I wonder with the good job that we've done with getting Narcan and other things out in the community. So what you just said is that the overdose and the hospitalization and the death rates have gone down. So that burden, I hear you. What I'm concerned about is the actual use rate. And so I'm wondering, are people still using opioids and fentanyl at similar comparable rates? But we're seeing fewer deaths because we've got more of the Narcan out in the community. There's still that problem if that's the case, that because there's still all the lost economic impacts of people that are addicted to drugs and things like that. So even if folks aren't dying, do we know if they're still using fentanyl at the same rates?
Good question. I wasn't necessarily expecting to, because I know, Danny, you have a few points that you wanted to make. Those are excellent questions. The challenge is the quality of the data that we have. So we have really good data on the things that are reportable. We don't have great data on the things that are not reportable, but we can use like surveillance data, questionnaires. So all of your localities participate in the Youth Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System, the YRVSS. All indicators are looking better, but we have a heck of a long way to still go. And so it depends on which specific indicator, and back to her point, what other substances are being, this is a different kind of question, but like data around cigarette smoking and vaping is actually it's pretty optimistic. So we have a lot more work that we have to do, but all the indicators are looking more positive. I don't want to be too optimistic because again, the quality of the data are not the same as the quality of the data for ED visits, hospitalizations, and deaths. So a little caveat on that.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I have another kind of a follow-up question to that. Your presentation, I thought, was excellent, and this whole process is very complex. You've covered a lot of detail here, different working groups and everything. We will assume that all this effort is going to have a positive impact, and I think it would. But have you built into this some kind of feedback loop where you can kind of monitor your own success?
I wish I had this very specific priorities right in front of me. Yes, that is the plan. And so as part of the collective impact model and their evaluation framework is, yes, to build a very robust shared data measurement system. Some caveats go along with that and actually sharing data between sources and agencies and things like that. But that is the goal, is to develop a process and a plan. And that's what kind of that next step was. We're not done with this. This is just the plan. We're gonna try to develop all of these things to be able to track more impact and outcomes over several years to see and hope, in hopes, right, that this work is making an impact.
And then that might also help you focus more in one area or another area to redirect your efforts to where you feel like you need additional.
Absolutely.
Excellent, thank you.
We plan on approaching this like any of our major planning efforts. You're seeing the beginning of something that we'll do every 5 years, and then every single year, like our SEDS, like our transportation plan, we'll revisit this. We'll have an annual update. What's gone well, what has changed. This is clearly an environment that can change very rapidly, and what's in the plan now may not apply in 6 months or a year. So we're gonna have these touch points built in, and then we'll come back to the collective advisory committee, and it'll come back to you when there's these changes and updates. So you'll, as a board, get to monitor and get that feedback and provide additional support and direction. And then we'll do a major update again in 5 years.
And just on behalf of the CAC, the Collective Advisory Committee, which serves you, we are viewing this as a beginning point. It's a new beginning point. It's a new blueprint with the intent. We had a very intentional discussion about this at our last advisory board meeting, with, of course, the support of the amazing team that we have here, that this is the beginning, and it's very exciting that we get to revisit it with this idea of how are we going to provide you with the information that you need to show that we are being successful in moving this blueprint. So I just wanted to say that this is definitely something that is actively discussed at your advisory.
Thank you. Mr. Stanley, did you have something?
Yeah, I kind of have maybe 3 questions in one. One is, going back to the data and some of the challenges I think you have, especially when it comes to Franklin County, because we're not in your district. And so making sure that Franklin County data is being represented in this through the health department and through other sources, through our community services boards, which I noticed the work group seems to be very Roanoke heavy. So the second part of the question is Craig County, Alleghany County, Franklin County, are you getting the feedback from those localities that you need to kind of have the clear picture of not just the urban environment, but maybe the rural environment as well? And then kind of the third part is just the interaction with the jail and the prison systems. Can you speak to that a little bit about kind of how you envision that, working with the regional jail and then the local jails through this process as well?
So Bailey and I, one of the things that we were talking about, and it's one of those things that when you see it over and over, you don't necessarily see it. So as Laura was talking, I whispered to Bailey, like, oh my gosh, it's Roanoke Valley Collective Response. But when we're having our advisory committee meetings, we talk about how are we ensuring that Franklin can, everything that you've just asked is very active in our discussions. How do we improve our recruitment? I will tell you that from my health department hat, when I am with Botetourt, or when I'm in Craig County, or when I'm up with Covington and Allegheny team members, this tool is going to help everybody, especially with like OAA priorities and others. So what we were just whispering about was maybe we need to think about rebranding the name, because it is with the regional commission. And so I'm looking at Jeremy like, I think I just opened a can of worms.
One of the important things we wanted to kind of emphasize with this is the 2000 blueprint was very much the urban core. So when the collective response came under the regional commission, one of the impetuses for doing this, despite this, beyond just the need to update the report, was it did not cover the full breadth of our service area. So we wanted to make sure not only were we updating what we kind of already knew, but we were capturing Franklin, Craig, Allegheny and so forth. So that's all within the scope. I think, without maybe spoiling anything, I think, as Dr. Morrow said, this is beginning. So to answer some of your questions, if there's not people who are at the table for those work groups, that's part of what we're going into now, is to make sure, we've got folks who've been in this process all along, but who do we need to identify who's not there, who can work with us and with, under Bailey guidance of the CAC on the implementation of this.
So our board has just supported a community paramedic program, which is a tremendous opportunity for, getting access to some of these cases, some of these records, coordinating some of that data. So.
And I would encourage you all to, I know I gave the most brief update or overview. If you have time and interest to read through all of the priorities for each work group, I think a lot of the topics that we've touched on are covered within, the suggestions for moving forward. And I already know all of these discussions are already starting to happen, and that's amazing. This is really a starting point, and that's what I have been here to do, is just try to gather as much information as possible and present this to start being worked on, and it's already in progress and already in movement. It's really exciting.
Thank you, and I know Jeremy and Bailey, you wanna say something?
Oh, yes,
That piece of this.
I'm really grateful to Laura and Dr. Morrow, and I really just want to extend my appreciation. This is a year of really hard work, but our communities have all been affected by this, so it's really important to me that you were all here and got to hear a little bit about what we've been up to. I also wanted to say that, well, this has been touched on, but the implementation begins now. This is where the important work starts. And as Laura mentioned, we're convening our regional stakeholders on Wednesday at a stakeholder meeting. And I just want to encourage representatives from all of your localities to either join us there or remain engaged. And you let us know what that might look like. We can come to your communities and share about the blueprint, share about the asset mapping that we've done, and assets that you have in your locality. And let us know how we can best serve your community with this document and how we're going to implement it. I was going to see if our advisory committee had any other notes to say, or if there was anything else that we wanted to share.
No, I think that my biggest thing was, we really need to make sure that you recognize that when we're having these conversations, we look at our meetings, that the advisory committee meetings are in this room, and we look at this every time. So please be assured that it is very important to us that we are inclusive of every locality.
Yeah, I think that for the role of, the localities at the table, I think it's important that we see some data broken out, urban versus rural. That would be very, very helpful. This commission's made a strong statement, December, January, that we need to make sure that our entire footprint is being properly evaluated. And it sounds like you all are, but the representation it seems very centric. So if we can work on that, and if there are people from some of our rural localities that are not at the table, please do some outreach on that, Bailey. Let us know who doesn't have that outreach, and then we'll let each locality deal with that as a to-do.
I love that. Thank you for that.
Sure.
We will pass that along, and I would love to share all the details for our stakeholder meeting on Wednesday. We meet the first Wednesday of every month, and we have 2 meetings a year that are virtual, because I know it's challenging to sometimes get to Roanoke. And part of our blueprint plan is to maybe have meetings, we'll come to you guys so that you don't have to come to Roanoke every time. So we really want to be intentional about how we involve all of us. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you all.
It's here in Roanoke at Curly and Children's from 9 to 10.
Yes, you need to.
Is that what's been said?
Children's at 10.
Okay, the next step on this item, we're being asked to adopt the blueprint for action update that you've seen this afternoon. Is that inclusive of everything we should see for this adoption?
Yes, and that includes, and those additional recommendations, like CAC, where how we handle the next steps. So this is adopting the plan, but there are some immediate next steps about how we go about formation of the work groups and implementation that it captures for.
Great.
What you just said.
Great. If anybody is, I'm sorry.
I said, move we adopt the plan.
Oh, thank you, Lee. I was getting ready to say that. second, Mr. Sandy. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. And that carries unanimously. Thank you, ladies, so very much. Very informative presentation.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is 28 Smart Scale application endorsement approval. I know, Jeremy, you've got Allison coming up. Do you have any predicating comments?
There will be when, Ms. Danette reaches the end of her presentation, we will have information that came out of the PPO earlier today that will impact this, but I believe Mr. Moore will share some thoughts.
So please, Allison.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. So, hello, everyone. My name is Allison Stinnett, for those of you who do not know me. And today I'm going to briefly talk about the FY 28 Smart Scale Endorsement Applications. So a little bit of background, we started this process several months ago, outreaching to all of our partners for preparing documents, getting things ready for a deadline for endorsements. The reason that we ask for endorsements is because the Regional Commission has 4 slots to submit applications, and the TPO has 4 application slots. So sometimes there might be opportunity for, say 10 people one project submitted, and we have to have a prioritization process. So from that effort, we had endorsement forms submitted, and these projects have been in the pipeline for a very long time. So we had 5 projects submitted, but really only 1 project is being presented in front of you today. But to let you know, we had 5 projects, and this is sort of the information that comes from the endorsement form that we look at to see, what have they already checked the boxes for, so I would just say we had 3 projects from the city of Roanoke and then 2 projects from Roanoke County, all vying for, the 8 slots that we have that we can submit, whether it's the RVTPO or the Regional Commission. So, I'm gonna go through it a little bit just because this project is the one that is being considered for the Regional Commission. But just to let you know, so we asked the endorsement sponsors to include this information. So is the project in the Roanoke Valley Transportation Plan? Is it in the most recent or updated SEDS or TED projects list? Does the project have a cost estimate? Is there any planned leverage on the project? And then does this serve a corridor of statewide significance or regional network? So this project is the one that we're looking at. And just a little information about this project is the City of Roanoke project. It is not in the TPO, Roanoke Valley Transportation Plan. It is a newer project, but they do have a pipeline study that they're working with VDOT on. And it is not in the SEDS 10, but we are currently in the development of those projects. It does have a cost estimate, and they are requesting for funding through SDBG and CRP program, and it is on a corridor statewide significance. So based on all of that information, we have found from the TTC meeting that the TTC previously had discussed, and they were supportive of submitting these 4 projects under the RVTPO application slots, and then proceeding with the City of Roanoke Campbell Avenue Pedestrian Safety Project to be submitted on the RVARC application slots.
Is that it?
Yes.
Thank you, Allison. I know Mr. North has something, and also if you all have any questions or comments. Phil, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna go ahead and amend. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and propose we adopt this, but also include what I'm gonna read. And today at 1 p.m. in the Transportation Planning Organization meeting, we passed what I'm gonna share with you. And so we're gonna recommend that this be sent to the Regional Commission, which we're currently in session. In anticipation of the potential changes to smart scale project eligibility for high priority projects, and high priority projects are defined on page it's in your packet. I can't read the page number. By the Commonwealth Transportation Board at its March 17th meeting. The Roanoke PPO has requested Planning District Commission, which is the RVARC, to leave open the opportunity for project applications from the PDC to fill the 3 slots of the 4 slots. In other words, there's three more slots right there that you see on the screen. And so, final action by the PDC can be taken at our March 26th meeting. So the request is for consideration to reopen the high priority project innovative intersections potential to be submitted by March 6th. So that those projects can be filed by March 12th at the TTC meeting. And then applications can be completed by April 1. Both for the RVARC additional 3 projects, potential 3 projects. And one such project that was discussed at the TPO meeting was Plantation and Williamson Road in the Highlands District with an innovative concept, which is known as a traffic circle to improve fluidity. So that's the motion in addition to adopting the plan laid out on the table.
So, well, thank you, Mr. North. I'll get a second and then we'll open up the floor for discussion. So, thank you, Mr. Volson. Floor is open, Mr. Sand.
Can I just clarify, you're saying because there weren't more applications for the PDC, you want those to be moved to the TPO? Is that?
No, what we want to do is we want
sure
the 4 up there at the top are the TPOs. We only get 4 projects.
Correct.
Okay, so we're approving that today. And we're
TPO
also,
already did approve that.
and we're also approving the one project that's currently in the RVARC application. So we have 4 slots. We've approved 1, and this will allow 3 others to be considered in the high priority project calculation because CTB is in the process of changing the rules of engagement so that high priority projects can include innovative traffic circles and that those can be considered. We have this one project we'd like to put in there. And of course, there may be some others, and folks have till March 6th to get them in so that the TTC can look at them the following Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever they need. And then all this comes back to us, whether it's 1 more project or 3 more, for us to approve on March the 26th. And the deadline to submit everything to the in the portal, I think, is April 1st. So for round 7 of SmartScape.
They have to go before TPO?
Yeah, they'll come back to.
No,
No, they don't have to because.
TPO already approved.
Yes, we approved
This is
the top 4.
commission's.
All right, yeah, but I'm talking about if we have 3 additional.
No, the 3 will go in the slot for the Roanoke Valley-Alleghany Regional
back to
Commission,
this
which is this body.
So, Mr. North, that I was under the impression that project 3 that's listed up there was that if the rules changed, that was going to be shifted to the.
So the Peters Creek Road, Williamson safety improvements are other improvements along that corridor. They're not necessarily the innovative traffic circle proposal like Plantation.
Well, that explains my confusion at the earlier meeting. Just have the same thing.
Yeah.
All right,
That project was submitted in round 6, what I'm talking about.
gotcha.
And it was expensive and didn't get approved. So now that they've changed the rules of engagement, or we hope that they do in March. If they don't change the rules of engagement, then it's null and void. We won't probably submit the project. This is subject to the CTB passing what, and we have to prepare in case they do pass it, because if you don't have but 13 days to get the project in from March 17th for the CTB meeting. So we're doing this preparatory work in hopes they pass this, and we feel they will, so that we can then move along and don't hold anything up, because there's not enough time between the 17th and the TTC to weigh in, nor is there enough time for people to get an application in by next Friday. And so we're going forward with this on hopes that the CTB approves. We don't have, time is of the essence. We don't have a lot of time. And it's unfortunate the CTB didn't approve it in February. They brought it up, then they got to discuss it, and vote on it in March.
Mr. Sandy?
I was just wondering if you could speak to the lack of applications you got from Craig
Well-
County, Allegheny County, Botetourt County, Franklin County? Do you
Salem.
know some of the reasons for those?
They're not,
You're not.
they're out of the TBO area.
I know I'm talking about for the regional commission.
Oh,
Right, that's a good question. I can't speak to it, I can just, maybe, who's here? Maybe you can speak to it, or Allison, I mean, not Chris.
I can kind of speak to it, but I want to hear from you guys why you didn't get applications.
So I would
it's like
say,
having statistics on lack of drug,
Yeah.
lack of drug.
I seriously, we put a,
It's hard to
I mean, we put
quantify.
an invitation out, you know, to work with everyone. I just don't think we got any. But
You know,
go ahead, sorry.
I think some of it is because round 6 was a disaster. Then we got nothing, period. And there were a lot of reasons for that. Number one, projects were too expensive that were submitted. Number two, projects we leveraged turned out not to change the scoring. And, the congestion factor, we were weighed against projects in other parts of the state and not in the district. So there were a number of reasons. And if you go back and look at round 6, were there any projects from other than the city and the county? I thought there were. Salem, I think, had some. Now, I don't know why they didn't do it. Maybe they just didn't have any need for it right now. Could be a combination of things.
Yes. Yes, so, I think it's multifaceted. I think that the issues that people have identified, especially with trying to hit all of the markers that you have to have with Smart Scale to be able to be successful in the scoring. So, you know, you have to be on a statewide corridor of significance. You have to, you know, be on a V-Trans need. You have to do all of these things. And a lot of the needs that people need to have to make projects, they don't reflect that adequately within the state system, at least from the 2023 needs. So now we have the 2025 needs, which going into this process will be helpful because there has been, I've been reviewing this, there has been a lot of changes with showing, you know, fatalities and, you know, areas that we know that are congested, but we don't want to say they're congested. So I think that is a big thing, but then I also think that just to speak, we did have an application from the town of Clifton Forge, and we were unable to pull together at this time because it was such a quick turnaround time to be able to submit a viable project at this time, which doesn't mean that we can't do that, but based on working with Stanton VDOT staff and Salem VDOT staff, we just need to coordinate better on how to make the best project. So I think there's a lot of different things, you know, and I think there's things that I could have done better. You know, I had reached out to some planning staff and, you know, it was a couple of months of being able to do that. So I'm hoping that there hasn't been any needs that haven't been met by needing to submit applications and you didn't get the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, let me
So-
speak to that, okay? You've got to start, you can't wait till the last minute. Now, what we're doing here is kind of waiting till the last minute because the rules of engagement are about to change in the Commonwealth Transportation Board. That's an exception, but we have to start this smart scale process, and you folks need to, you know, and I know you did it here recently with the timeline, but you gotta reiterate that over and over again, and you gotta make sure the right people in the municipalities and in the counties are getting that information. That's all you can do. You can't make them put the application, and you can help them when they do, like you spoke to Clifton Forge. And I think there was only 56 projects that got approved in the last round 6 in the whole state of Virginia. There was 150 some earlier. And it's because the rules of engagement changed in round 6, good, bad, or otherwise. And some of the advice we got from OIPI, which is part of VDOT, didn't help us out, like submit that project and submit the whole corridor for Peters Creek Road. Oh, we didn't submit some of the smaller parts. Well, then we were told, well, you shouldn't have submitted so many large projects. You should have broken down to pieces. Let me speak to that. The most success occurred in the Richmond district. They had $23 million projects, and a bunch of those got funded because they were low cost. And they know how to play the game. This is all a game. You know, it's a matrix game, and it's roll the dice and hope you got everything I's dotted, T's crossed. The other thing was, a lot of people used to submit projects that didn't have the dollars in there. And those projects were lay dormant in the VDOT system, and they had to go through there and flesh out those that didn't have dollar amounts already calculated, because they were clogging the system up. So the rules got tighter in round 6, which I think kind of flushed out some people from doing anything, but I think we need to go back, especially after round 7, to encourage people. If we see a lot of success in round 7, then we need to encourage more, because the same thing happened to 3 other planning districts. Nobody got anything in those planning districts. And smart scale is smart scale. There's limited funding probably going to be provided compared to the past, because they're taking money from the construction account to try to supplement it. But we've got increased maintenance costs, which is going to put the lid on it being increased in dollars. So, but nevertheless, you just have to start next year by saying it's June 1st. You got to start working on these smart scale projects and show the timeline that's needed.
Okay.
Just
We
one other comment. I mean, I think the short answer for us is, and especially the rural areas, is very few, if any, projects would qualify.
It's a
And part of that is because of the changing criteria. And so I think that's really the short answer, I think, and that's the answer for us in Franklin. We really didn't have one that was qualified yet.
I was gonna move the resolution on page 1.
Thank you. That was my next step. We've got to move on, folks.
With the addition of Mr. North's request, I can't say everything that you said, but I think the intent was to keep the process open to allow further submissions.
So you have the motion.
I made the
And
motion,
you're,
Oh, you made the motion,
made
and I'll
it.
second his motion.
okay,
and that included the
all right, so I'm not gonna ask if there's any more comments. God bless you. All those in favor of supporting the resolution, and associated motion, please designate as saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like so. Very good, that carries. Good job, everybody. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, I'd like to, if I had mentioned Shira Goldman, she is her 6-month anniversary with us, and the first time before, so be kind. I know we've been here for a little while, so take your frustration on me if you have any. But Shira's going to talk to you about one of our projects this year, the stormwater nutrient credit bank, which was one of our more prior requests last year.
Okay, so, yes, I'm Shira. I'll be talking about periods, the establishment of nutrient credit banks and the upper Roanoke River watershed. So I'll go over what nutrient credit trading is, what we're seeing locally.
Can you speak a little louder into the microphone? Thank you.
And also some practical recommendations for localities. So our region has 2 major watersheds, the Upper James and the Roanoke River watersheds. In this report, I've only talked about the Roanoke River watershed, but the Upper James can see addressed in the future if there is interest. So for some local context, from 2017 to 2021, nutrient trading was the most common way developers in the city of Roanoke met their stormwater nutrient requirements. In fact, more than half of development projects relied on purchasing nutrient credits rather than installing on-site controls. Credit purchases were especially attractive for smaller projects. Typical project using credits disturbed about 1.4 acres. So that just suggests that buying credits was often simpler or more cost-effective than designing and maintaining on-site nutrient reductions. In the same Roanoke case study, which is the only current study on this within the commission service area, the median price of a nutrient credit was $8,000. However, it's important to note that every credit purchase came from banks located downstream to the city of Roanoke, so nutrient reductions were not occurring locally. Despite multiple impaired waterways or pollution limits or TMDLs in the region, there are very few nutrient credit banks in the RVARC area, and they currently only exist in Franklin County, which just highlights the limited local supply and potential barriers to expanding trading within the region. So what is nutrient trading? Nutrient trading is a market-based compliance mechanism which was established in 2005 that allows regulated entities to meet water quality requirements through offsite nutrient reductions. So when on-site stormwater and nutrient reduction requirements can't be met, developers can purchase nutrient credits
generated by nearby landowners who have implemented approved and verified water quality improvement practices. Under Virginia's erosion and stormwater management program, projects disturbing over an acre can or must obtain a construction general permit and mitigate stormwater runoff impacts using approved water quality best management practices, and that's either on-site or through credit purchases where allowed. So why does it exist? It exists for compliance, flexibility, and potentially lower costs for developers. And a credit represents reductions in phosphorus, nitrogen, or sediment. Phosphorus is the most common in this type of trading, non-point source trading, because stormwater regulations in Virginia are primarily structured around phosphorus compliance requirements for land development. Phosphorus is considered a limiting nutrient, which means that the available quantity of this nutrient controls the pace at which algae and aquatic plants are produced. So excess phosphorus can fuel algal blooms, which can deplete oxygen and affect aquatic life throughout the watershed. Many of the practices used to reduce phosphorus also tend to reduce nitrogen and sediment as co-benefits, which means that addressing phosphorus can help improve overall water quality more broadly. And a key trade-off is that improvement may occur away from the impacted community. So here you can see an example of a nutrient credit bank. The top two this is in Bedford County downstream from us, stream restoration, and the top two are degraded pasture land, and then the bottom is the restored stream. And by repairing the degraded banks, RES prevented over 1,370 pounds a year of total phosphorus and over 880 pounds a year total nitrogen from entering the watershed downstream, which eventually drains into the Outer Banks area of North Carolina. So after interviewing some experts, three main barriers emerged. First are high land costs. So historically, most nutrient credits were generated by converting agricultural land to forest, but lower land costs downstream drew banks away from the Roanoke area. The 2020 DEQ modeling update also cut the credit value of agricultural conversions in half, which reduced their profitability. Stream-based nutrient banks may now also be more cost-effective, though their viability near Roanoke is complicated by site-specific factors, particularly the region's mountainous topography and rocky soils, which can limit suitable sites, restrict access, and increase project costs. Second is a limited local sponsorship. So more local sponsorship from nearby firms or local governments could lead to more strategically placed banks upstream in areas that private developers with no local water quality knowledge may overlook. Also, the EPA's list of impaired waters will likely be updated in April this year, so that could create new requirements for where nutrient banks are needed or where new credits must be purchased. Third is the existing market saturation. So there's already an oversupply in parts of the basin, which reduces incentives for new banks. So what can be done moving forward? Some possible recommendations are to encourage credit banks near nutrient impact areas. 2021 Virginia study found that most trades occur very far from impact sites, with only 0.5% occurring within the same local watershed. The Virginia Erosion and Stormwater Management Plan authorities, which are typically localities, can amend their ordinances to restrict trading to more stringent boundaries such as by locality, or enforce Memo GM 21/2007 to encourage protection of local water quality. Another area worth exploring is prioritizing conservation-aligned projects to meet Virginia's broader conservation and environmental goals. Credit stacking could also be an opportunity to provide multiple benefits simultaneously, like habitat restoration and carbon sequestration, on top of improved water quality to the environment, while providing further incentives to landowners. So, for example, a DEQ approved wetland or stream mitigation bank could have the potential to generate nutrient credits with proper documentation that shows the credits are not being double counted for mitigation and nutrient compliance. And so that could just offer some added flexibility to meet demand. The third option is to consider stream restoration, prioritizing stream restoration approaches. So this looks like focusing on local banks using stream or wetland restoration, particularly in headwater tributaries, where nutrient reductions improve water quality downstream and may generate more credits per acre.
You're welcome to see the accompanying report for more details and maps.
Thank you, Sharon. That was a wonderful presentation. We really appreciate the work you put into that. It was very informative. Do any of the commissioners have questions, comments? Okay, this item does not require any action of the commission today, unless you have something you'd like us to take forward on your behalf. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Jeremy, do we have any committee reports of those listed that you would like to bring forward?
We have two brief committee reports on the Blue Way of the Sets.
Okay, so Amanda? Good evening. I have to say good evening. Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's habit. Good afternoon. So very briefly, we have a brief report from the Blue Way. We did receive a draft of the recreation management plan from AEP for the Niagara Dam relicensing project. So we are preparing comments on that, and I believe that will be made available to the public sometime in the next couple of months. So if you have any questions about that, I am happy to answer them. Of course, we are running low on time, I think, for everyone. So I'm also happy to answer them after the meeting. And jump in and stop me if you need me to. But I'll move on to the sets. We do have a public survey available. The QR code is down here in the corner. It's on our Engage site if you're not familiar. So engage.rvarc.org. So that is available for folks if you are interested in chiming in on some of our economic development priorities for the region. That's open. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Okay, I don't want to, this for Holmes, if it's okay, I don't want to overlook Phil or Lee if you have anything further legislatively, Phil or Lee on the plan.
Yeah, I got,
Stick around if you're on the work program.
Okay.
all right, so real quick, both budget amendments that were in our legislative agenda card by Senator Hidd and Senator or Delegate Austin for the $7 million request and a $40 million terminal improvement request did not go on to the final budget proposed in the House and Senate respectively. But we'll work with the Air Safety Task Force for next year. Secondary road funding failed for the second year. That was also in our agenda. The Freeland Biomed should receive 13 million in new funds once the budget's passed, we hope. And local zoning and energy bills are still being considered. So more as we move on through to the end of March when the General Assembly goes home.
Mr. Moore, thank you so much for chairing that committee. Under other business, I know Allison, I'll invite you back up to talk about the rural transportation plan.
I'll be really quick. So I just want to let you all know that we're starting the 2045 rural transportation plan. So you might have already seen it being advertised a little bit, but I just wanted to let you all have a face to the name when I start emailing you all, because I want to have meetings with you and your staff and understanding rural transportation needs in your areas. So I just wanted to put that out there, and we'll have a full report at the next meeting. So of everything that we've done so far. So I hope to be able to meet with y'all soon.
Thank you, Allison. That's great. Thank you for your work on that. Is there any other business? Yes, Miss.
At the February CTB meeting, Secretary of Transportation Nick Donahue cautioned the CTB members that the transfer of the Shenandoah Rail Trail to the Department of DRPT omitted the public hearing process. So the Shenandoah Rail Trail is now back with the VDOT, and they're having public meetings. My thought was, well, gosh, if because they did that DRPT and then they were going to wait for a train to go through that corridor. That if there's any money left over from appropriations, that we might use that money to complete the Craig Botetourt Trail.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Holmes is making a note and, we're just making a list. So Barbara, thank you for that. That's very important. Any other business to come before the commission? Anyone?
Madam Chairman, motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And all those in favor resounding aye? Aye. Okay, we are adjourned.
Go ahead.
So.
So.